of the two co-chairs and the ministers accompanying me. Before we do any further processes, I would like to first introduce the ministers of the JCP as present here today. We have Minister Modise, responsible for military veterans and defense. We have Minister Fele, responsible for service. Minister Chaveni in the presidency, who's also responsible for state security. We have Minister Mulla, who's responsible for justice and correctional services. And we have Deputy Minister Manu, whose portfolio is transport. And senior leadership of officials, we have the National Commissioner, we have the Secretary for Defense acting, we have a Deputy Commissioner, and various other senior leadership of government, DGs from Justice, and the other portfolio. May I then, without further ado, request the Minister of Defense, the co-chair, to come and speak to the nation and all of us present. Thank you, Minister.
Good morning, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the cluster, may I read what we have called you here for. The Ministers of the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security cluster have arranged this media briefing to discuss the progress we've made on combating organized crime, which includes illegal mining in the country. The purpose, therefore, is to take the citizens into confidence on the work and operations conducted since 2022. We all know that crime has become a growing concern for our country, as it negatively impacts on the lives of South Africans. We also know that our people have borne the wrath of the criminals who are masquerading in our communities, causing disruptions. And in some of our communities, extortion and protection fees are beginning to be something that we think we must deal with as quickly and as effectively as we can. We also know that fees are demanded by criminal syndicates. We know that we now suddenly have infrastructure mafias in South Africa who continue to destabilize the construction industry through intimidation, threatening people's lives. These and other criminal activities have put fear in our people, but this also undermines the authority of the state. Government continues to respond to the cries from our people and is making inroads into destroying the criminal syndicates and activities, and will leave no stone unturned to make sure that the criminals are dealt with harshly and effectively. We will make sure that as the JCPS cluster, we create a safe and secure environment for our people to live in. I want to take you to Operation Shanela and say to you that since May 2023, the country has adopted a decisive approach in reducing the high levels of crime. It is through Shanela that SAPS has successfully arrested 213,059 suspects for various crimes, such as cash in transit, robberies, extortion at construction sites, and kidnappings in the past 6 months. During the same period, 2,657 people have been arrested who are illegal and have unwarranted and illegal firearms. Through Operation Shanela in the past 6 months, 19,299 suspects were arrested for drug possession, 7,580 arrested for drug trafficking and dealing. On cash in transit and robberies, we continue to make inroads in confronting the crimes associated with cash in transit heists. The police have, in the past 6 months, arrested 75 wanted suspects. The arrests were made during foiled cash in transit attempts, during the commission of these crimes, and during the targeted tracing operations. We want to go on to say that drugs have become an issue in our country, and we have arrested about nine drug laboratories worth 3 million have been dismantled in Gauteng, in the Northwest and in the Western Cape. 2 other drug busts were made. We now are following up on issues of cocaine, which assist, the last one being last week in Gqeberha, where 65 million worth of cocaine was seized from a vessel that was coming in from Brazil. The police are still following up on this. There are 2 other drug busts which were made in KZN, all of them worth around 150 million rands worth of cocaine. We are keeping an eye on the Durban Harbour. The most recent destruction of the drugs was in Cape Town, where we destroyed 170 million rands worth of drugs. At the extortion at a construction site of late, the country has been experiencing sporadic incidents of violence and extortion at economic sites due to the demands of a 30% share in community projects. Various threats were identified that impact negatively on the economy of the country, and in response to these threats, the cluster initiated specific interventions to ensure a safe and secure environment conducive for social and economic stability and growth. On kidnappings and ransom, the DPCI and detectives have dedicated teams that are responsible for tracing and investigating kidnapping cases where ransom demands are being made. These teams mainly prioritize the rescue and the reuniting of kidnapped victims with their families, as well as trying to bring to book all those who are responsible for the kidnappings and the extortion thing. From April 2023 to date, 98 suspects have been arrested for these crimes, and more than 30 victims have been rescued. We then want to go on to the anti-gang unit, which we continue to deploy. This unit has arrested 190 people, especially around the Western Cape, Eastern Cape, and Gauteng, which 990 people are involved in at least 145 cases. On cross-border crimes, a task team deployed to prevent and combat cross-border vehicle smuggling continues to register commendable progress. Since its deployment from the 1st of February this year, more than 140 suspects have been arrested for theft, car hijackings, and murder. 64 vehicles have since been recovered, 57 firearms seized. In August, the police registered a major breakthrough when 3 wanted suspects that had been linked to a spate of vehicle smuggling activities into Mozambique and South Africa were arrested. The trio has also been linked to a crime activist that was executed in February this year. On combating of illegal mining and related crimes, we continue to deal with these threats to our national security. The National Security Council, chaired by the President, tasked the net joints and intelligence structures to conduct a thorough threat analysis of all the threats and activities related to mining, which includes currently legally operated, abandoned and disused mines. We do this because we're not only concerned about unused mines, we're also concerned about the lives of those who live above these mines. So there is a concerted effort there to trace and to go after not only those who have caught underneath the ground, but also to those who are running, those who are selling the big pins. So an integrated illegal mining associated crime plan has been put, and this is supposed to be result driven and will be implemented through net joints. The implementation of this plan involves a number of departments and role players, including SAPS, SSA, DMRE, Home Affairs, Justice and Correctional Services, COCTA, Human Settlements, Social Development, the Department of Environmental Affairs, the Directorate of Priority Crime Investigations, the South African Revenue Services, the FIC, the Asset Forfeiture Unit, the South African National Defence Force, and the BMA. So you can see it's a big team which will focus in trying to get rid of this thing which is beginning to take root in South Africa. And to date, 4,067 suspects have been arrested on the various illegal mining related charges. The National Intervention Team deployed in Mpumalanga to deal with illegal mining and Eskom energy crisis resulted in the arrest of 67 illegal miners with mining equipment worth 180 million rands and coal worth 12 million that was seized. Among those who were arrested also are 63 South Africans. 63 South Africans. 2,739 foreign nationals from Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Lesotho, DRC, Nigeria, Kenya, Pakistan, and Uganda. These arrests indicate the multinational nature of illegal mining, and it must clearly be stated that anyone who comes into conflicts with the laws of the Republic of South Africa shall and must be dealt with harshly within the provisions of our justice system, irrespective of whether that person is a citizen or a foreign national. We shall take no prisoners when our laws are being violated. We will not become diplomatic when our economy is being attacked through these acts. So, over and above these arrests, from January to March 2023, the DPCI and the Asset Forfeiture Unit seized at least 15 vehicles, issued 14 freezing orders to the value of 16,927 rands, and 2 forfeitures to the value of 1,900 rands. From April to October this year, 12 freezing orders were obtained to the value of 16 million and 1 forfeiture value of 600 470,000 rands. We want to say that there is quite an appetite from us to seal illegal mining and shafts across South Africa. We know that there are 6,100 derelict and ownerless mines in our country. Some of these mines are old and the owners cannot be traced. There is 170 mine openings nationally. And in Gauteng, there are 518 such openings. So we're looking to work as that big team to do what is necessary, including looking at the legislation and regulation framework review. We are also looking at the role of provinces and the role of the local communities in this regard. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I know that you've got the thick document in front of you. The communities have an important role to play in combating organized crime and illegal mining. Communities have a responsibility to expose illegal miners and to report them to the law enforcement agencies. South Africans, make sure that you are not assisting the criminals, because you may find yourself on the wrong side of the law. We also want to issue a stern warning to the illegal miners and criminals that the law enforcement agencies will embark on intensified operations with the aim of protecting the innocent citizen. As we move towards 2024 national elections and the provincial elections, the JCPS cluster will confront all threats to national security with the sole objective of protecting our constitutional order. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'm reliably informed that you have received the electronic copies of the full statement. I'm now going to open up for questions. I prefer the word interaction with the ministers regarding this very important issue that we are here about. I'll have the first round, second round, and probably the third round. Please, we know the drill. Introduce yourself and the media house you're coming from, and then ask a question. I'll start on the front row, followed by the second row, and the third row. Anyone on the left-hand side? We'll take the three first questions. Go ahead, ma'am.
TV News. Firstly, we haven't received the packs. I haven't yet. And secondly, for the minister, you gave such important numbers and details. Could you just summarize that for us? I think it's very important that we get clarity around the issue of the illegal mining specifically with the numbers that you gave out. I think they probably just didn't come across as smoothly. So if you could just repeat that, that would be very helpful. And secondly, thirdly, with the illegal miners themselves, I mean, we've been there and we've spoken to these illegal miners, and they've basically remained emphatic or stubborn by saying that regardless of whatever government does, whether it's the police or it's the army, they still will not leave and they still will not be removed. They'll simply run away and then just come back when you have left. So in as much as you have a mandate to root out this illegal mining issue, is it going to be a temporary thing? And how can you guarantee that it's going to be a permanent solution and that come March next year, we're not seeing a resurgence of it when the army leaves and the police now dissipate? Thank you.
Thank you, Zindombi.
Good morning, my name is Bafedila Moran from ENC8. Talking about the issue of illegal mining, if you could just give us a picture as to what is happening with those people who have been arrested. As the minister has highlighted that most of them are foreign nationals, where are they at this point? Have they been deported, or are they facing the justice system here in South Africa? And another issue, as the minister highlighted, to say that today's briefing, it's about giving confidence to South Africans. There's an issue of the transport minister's dilemma where she was robbed on Monday together with her bodyguards. What's your comment on that? What is it that you're saying to citizens? How safe are we as South Africans when the minister and her entourage can be robbed just like that? Thank you.
Thank you, Bandile.
Good afternoon, good morning. Zinikom Shala from Newsroom Africa. Just a few questions. On the suspects who have been arrested, how far are their cases in terms of prosecution? How many have been have been processed through the prosecution processes under the Justice Ministry? Also, in terms of the officers who are deployed, including SABs and the military officers, how accessible will we be to mining activists on the ground and communities? Would there be any way where if an informant in the community be able to access the soldiers, the SAPS, so just understanding of the relations and the information? And in terms of the proposing and closing of the mines, how much has the issue of repurposing these mines have been factored in terms of dealing with illegal mining? Because some researchers have been saying that these mines need to be reused, they need to be repurposed. So how much of that has been taken into consideration? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Trava. Are there any questions on my level? No. May I request ministers to respond in any format? Mr. Taylor, Mr. Lima, Mr. Jordan, and the Minister.
Thank you very much. With regards to the question of what is happening with regards to the arrests in relation to illegal mining or some of these organized crime. Between April and August 2023, a total of 329 accused were convicted of offences related to illicit mining, whilst 8 were acquitted. During the same period, we had 7,351 cases in which accused were convicted of contraventions of the Immigration Act, while 178 cases contained acquittals. As of November 2023, a total of 4,068 cases containing contraventions of the Immigration Act are outstanding on the criminal court roll. The conviction rate with regards to these type of crimes, including organized crime, it's rising in the criminal justice system and in the court roll. In the last financial year, 221 convictions were secured from 204 matters related to essential infrastructure convictions. This also shows the focus also of the NPA in regards to these matters that are of serious priority to the country and also to the criminal justice system. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm well as add on the question of the government doesn't the one that figures of the arrest. There's been this issue of arresting foot soldiers. In the statement, when you receive it and see it, you will realize that there are people that have been arrested that could not be just ordinary foot soldiers. Where there have been some forfeiture and confiscation of their ill dividends from this one. Those people are 9 that have been arrested at that level, where the cars, the houses, the property have been confiscated around the 38 million, 16, and some other monies. So it's not just chasing those, but moving a little bit up to deal with those that are the brains behind. There are 9 up to this far, those people. The question of confidence in South Africa, indeed, as the Minister Mdise read the statement of criminals, something attacking the communities. Ministers of the state are part of the society of South Africa and are part of the communities that they live in. And these things will happen now and again, and we see how we respond. It's not a complete immune thing that the people at the high profile level will happen in the country or in other countries. I think one of the most prominent person that suffered that is JFK, the whole president of the United States of America. It happened with the day of the J-Call, de Gaulle, the president of France. It happened in South Africa that the leader of government was killed inside Parliament, right sitting in the session. It happened. So crime now and again will remind all of us that it's across the board. But specifically this issue, we are looking at it. It does look like the National Commissioner has worked on putting the specific team as we'll be looking at this matter so that we know exactly what happened. There are issues around it because it's an investigation. We're not going to be talking much on it. But as I've said, that is not something that happens in South Africa, around the world. If you think of JF Kennedy and people like those, it just happened that we all do fall victims sometimes on this. There is a question, will you make a call to say Zamazamas are here? I mean, they come now. These operations are continuing. That's why the minister will talk about those cases that are in court, those people that have been arrested. I'm sure you're aware of the arrest that has happened in Northern Cape of 867 people that were arrested. They are continuing. As they continue and these criminals getting arrested, they also resist. The two bad things besides illegal mining, they resist and they are armed, but also they begin to interfere with the lives of the communities around the area. River Lee is one case, Kagiso is one case, Krugersdorp is one case. So these operations is not just to see them, to arrest them when you see them. It's to go where they are and make sure that they are flushed out of the system of doing so. Well, there is a issue that they will keep coming. We'll keep coming too. As they keep coming, we'll keep coming. There is a period that is put, I'm not going to give the period, that we expect that this time the operations that push these people back would have been done, and then we go in normal maintenance of making sure that that doesn't happen. But it's not only that. They are well armed. In Krugersdorp or Klerksdorp, we found them with 30 firearms. 15 of them were AKs with the new sealed boxes of ammunition where we don't know where they come from and all that kind of stuff. So they do need that krach, they do need that kind of power to pursue them wherever they are. Not only that, we're also dealing with the neighboring countries on this matter. With the bilateral between the head of states and the head of government in Lesotho, the matter was raised So those relevant ministers are pursuing that matter, especially the Minister of Police, both in Lesotho and Mozambique. We are dealing with those matters. So it's not just pursue, but it's also make things that will prevent. The mines will be sealed. I'm sure the Minister Javin can take that one through further, the program of sealing the mines. So that it's not just the cat and mouse, but the operations that will be led by the police and supported by the National Defence Force is to open the space of finding the final solutions on the matters, working together with the communities. Thanks very much.
Thank you, good morning. So according to DMRE, there are 6,100 derelict and ownerless mines in the country. Of that, there's 1,117 mine openings nationally, and in Gauteng, there are 518 of those. So what is the plan? So that when the police and the military goes and removes these people up, there is a plan underway by the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy to seal the openings so that they cannot then use them back. But secondly, some of those ownerless mines, government is of the view that there can be artisanal mining that is done legally, and DMRE is working on they've done a draft policy paper for artisanal mining, and they're finalizing a process of then registering those who want to conduct artisanal mining, which then will then remove the illegal miners from going back and occupy those ownerless mines, because those ownerless mines, we cannot trace their owners because some of them were abandoned a long time ago and some of them would have been deceased, the companies still registered. So the process is to seal, and the other ones that can still be useful, they will then be used by artisanal mining. Thank you.
I just thought I should come back in the last point and say to South Africans who wish to go into mining, please follow processes, please apply, please be legal. There's nothing wrong with artisanal mining. There's everything wrong with people just doing things and becoming illegal in the country. And we cannot overemphasize that, because dealing with illegal miners must be a priority for us. Artisanal mining should be something that is encouraged, done procedurally. There was a question that says, will we be accessible on the ground? I think all of us will be accessible on the ground. But specifically, the police have got this. We go in support of the police. They are proving over and over South Africa that they are capable of defending, of taking their stance, of dealing with criminals on the ground. But we also are aware, and a particular neighboring country, we know that the people who were wreaking havoc, not only in the Gauteng mines, but in the Northwest mines, come from our neighbors and are trained soldiers. And that is why, as defense, we have taken to discussing with our counterparts on how trained soldiers, especially those who were hierarchy, behave outside their countries, and what we might need to agree on doing with those who are seen acting in countries that are not theirs illegally. Therefore, that protocol is something that we're beginning to put in place. Should a South African former general be involved, a colonel be involved in illegal activities in a neighbor's country, and how should that person be treated? Like a criminal? And if they are armed to the teeth, who must confront? The last issue that we must address as a cluster, Minister Cele, is an interaction with the judiciary, through you, Minister Lamola, because the police arrest them in huge numbers. The magistrates, and I can say it because I'm not the Minister of Justice, the magistrates let them walk out. And so a conversation must ensue in South Africa of when the arms of states are not in tandem, what must we do? So there is a bigger conversation that we must have as South Africans, but we thought that we must also say to ordinary South Africans. In Orkney, the mothers are told, take 3,000, this is my wife. In Potchefstroom, in Klerksdorp, you have water problems sometimes because the water down there are diverted. Who gets the blame? The municipality. And therefore, there are many things that we are looking at as a cluster. And that is why other departments who are not necessarily in this cluster now become part of us. Human settlements, and all the other social, including women, because there are issues that go straight into their departments, which we must be cognizant with, but which working in hand with them can help us resolve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ministers. That was our first round. May I just check if there are any questions that are coming through social media, Takalan?
Thank you very much, General. There are questions that are coming from online. The first one is coming from Erika Kitchen, who is representing Business Day. And the question is directed to the Minister of Defense. The question says, could the Minister maybe elaborate on the type of operations the SANDF specifically will be involved in? And will it be mostly above the surface operations or underground too? And in December, most of the illegal miners go home for holidays. How will this absence affect the success of the operation? And the second question from Marvin Adams, who is a freelance journalist. In light of a pervasive presence of organized crime in the daily lives of South Africans, can JCPS cluster outline comprehensive strategies and initiatives that will be implemented to effectively combat and eradicate organized crime? And how does the cluster plan to address the root causes and collaborate across different sectors to ensure a sustained and impactful effort against this deeply entrenched issue in our society? Thank you.
Is that what I?
Yes.
May I invite any other person that has not raised a question? If not, we'll go back to the gentleman in the white shirt.
Morning, Alpha Ramushwana here from Eyewitness News. I just want to find out from the police minister. Minister Thandimuthisa has painted a grim picture of the fact that most of the illegal miners are not South African. I want to know, you've previously raised concerns that there's no capacity from the Home Affairs Department to deport these illegal miners. I want to know if there's been any progress since you made that statement. Are they being deported, or are we still facing the same issue? Thank you.
Thank you, Alf. Zintombi?
Thank you so much. Just to follow up, really connecting to my colleague's question, is it not being divisive to mention the names, or mention the countries of where the suspects are coming from? Is that not going to create a divide, firstly? And then secondly, in terms of the communities on the ground are definitely feeling as though they're not being supported by the police and all the different role players that are supposed to support them. And in as much as I've heard the Minister for Police and Defence talking about working together with the communities, it just doesn't quite seem to be gelling. There seems to be a break in between the communication. How are they going to bridge that gap to make sure that communities feel like they can actually go directly to them for assistance? Thank you.
Thank you, Zintombi. Thank you.
Zinuka again from Newsroom Africa. I just want to get a sense of, is there a clear legislation which people must use to apply for getting into the illegal mining? Is there a process that's already out there that can advise people on how to get into illegal mining?
Can you speak louder and repeat the questions?
Okay, is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay, my question is in relation to, is there a clear legislation which people must follow if they want to get into mining? As the minister was saying, that people must get into the sector legally and by following due processes. So where do they access that information? And yeah, what's the process that's there to be followed? My second question is, what has been the attitude of our neighboring countries, especially those that have most suspects are coming from, especially to Mozambique? What are the clear conversations that our government has been having with them, and what has been their response?
Thank you very much. I will invite the ministers to respond. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The question that Erica poses, what is our role in this whole thing? Ms. Gibson knows that the National Defence Force has different and varied skills. We do have engineers in the defense who can come in handy in dealing with whatever, whether there are booby traps, whether there are machineries that have to be dismantled, they'll be able to do so. They will be able to also contribute to the large numbers of engineers that we are going to need if we want to manage and close down this illegal mining across there. But we also know that some of these people are soldiers and they are not carrying weapons that are carried by the police. And therefore, we will match fire by fire. On the question of whether naming these countries is divisive, first of all, we are South Africans. Lives, property, dignity, safety of South Africa must be priority to us as ministers of South Africa. I don't think it is our job as ministers to protect the images of other countries when ours is going to the tatters because other people's are coming in and disregarding, disrespecting our laws and our dignities within our own borders. And therefore, we should take a hard stance against any foreign national who comes into this country with the sole intention of breaking our laws. We are encouraging Tate Motsoaledi to scrutinize very carefully. And that is why earlier on I referred to a little discussion with the judiciary, because even as we find no cause for people to come here and to seek to stay in South Africa because the reasons are flimsy, it will be defeated at court when Motsoaledi and Atmosphere say we cannot grant this one. And therefore, maybe as South Africans, throughout the three arms of the state, we need to sit down and say, what is priority? If South Africans go into any country, they rape, they steal cars, they kill, then they must be dealt with as harshly as the citizens of that country. And we shall do the same. I don't think that we should be nice about it. We're not going to be nice about it. We will continue to engage the other countries, but South Africa comes first. You've also said that the communities feel that the communities must always remember that sometimes it is what I do within my yard and my family. Sometimes it is done out of trying to be neighborly. But if I am being neighborly to a neighbor from another country and that neighbor destroys my country, I have a responsibility to protect my own dignity and the dignity of my country. And that is why we are saying to South Africans, please make sure you are not aiding and abetting what destroys your own country.
Nozintombi would not argue with the communities how they feel. Actually, they should not be told that you are safe. They should feel that they are safe. I fully agree with you there. But it would be also not be very true that nothing is being done. You have been working with us when we attended to these communities. They raise matters, whether it's Rivali, whether it's Jerusalem, whether it's Krugersdorp, whether it's Reflexdorp. We have been in these communities doing the reversal of this kind of criminality. What has been happening, especially with this mining problem, Zamazamas, including Kagiso, is that while the special forces are there, these people will be arrested, 100 up to 1,000 of them, as the figures has been given. Dismantle their infrastructure, take amapendukas, take a generator, and all those kind of things. And indeed, you said they will keep saying, will keep coming back, is exactly what we're doing. Flush them out of the system, but put mechanisms thereafter, closing artisan mining and all, so that they become legal and all that. But we have said that we are also dealing with the neighboring countries. I have put it, besides Minister of Defense meeting his counterpart twice, I think personally 3 times now I've met the Minister of Police in Lesotho and once in Mozambique. Those are the things that we raise, and we exchange information on these matters. Indeed, we do talk with these countries. But we believe we will reach where the communities will be settled. But I want to go a little bit beyond on the matter of communities feeling safe. We have a problem where communities will be attended mostly by yourselves as they are under siege. And when things are sorted out, you never visit those communities. One major community that has happened is KwaMhlabiyaLingana. Some of the media, when KwaMhlabiyaLingana was under siege, when Judah was murdered, literally there was house to house of media asking people how do they feel. 147 people there have been arrested. Those borders have been sealed. Police have taken out. Communities say we never knew that there is such peace. Nobody tells the story about that one. I just wish that those that were camping there when Judah died, they can go back there and hear what people on the ground are saying. That is the same with KwaMajola in Port St. John's, where there was a funny situation where when the night falls, women will put their babies on back and go and sleep in the bush. They are asleep home now. June 16, for the first time after long, there was a youth tournament playing together and all those. But nobody tells the story to say those lives have changed. So it left hanging on the minds of the people as if the situation has not changed. There was one big one at Jablan Mall, where it was raided by criminals in front of the police station. There was real halapal, correctly so. Nobody has told the story that 7 of those people have been arrested and they are caught going, arrested after they've done those things. So it will be good that when communities have raised this matter, and maybe don't hear them talking again, go back to them and hear, has your life has been changed or has not been changed, so that we do report all eras and all times of bad and good. But I agree that Zamazamas, they seems to be consistent to irritate communities. But we are here now. The committee that President has instructed to work on Zamazamas is ready. Can I say it has been resourced? That committee has been resourced by enough. I want to say enough. So the response will be decisive, and the response We want it to be final, as we say to our people. It cannot be the way of life. The second one is an organized crime. I think somebody asked about organized crime. That's what we intend. Is another area. Well, the figures that's been given of the arrest of cash in transit, that's an organized crime. The figures have been given of, in Durban, in 3 or 4 days, big 2 busts were made, one at port, one at the airport, of 80 and 70,000 rand. And a week later, one big one was done at Gqeberha of 65 million. The figures have been given here of the dismantled laboratories of those people that assemble their laboratories to manufacture their drugs in. Maybe the figures were not given of people. The hoax is here. The last figure they've given of overall of those people is almost 339 of those people that have been arrested for those laboratories. So there is a pushback in this big bust of the organized crime. But one thing that has not been followed much on the organized crime is the Western Cape issue. Everybody cries about Western Cape organized crime and asking, when are you dealing with kingpins? Why do you deal with small fish? We have dealt with kingpins, big sharks there. What is very interesting, when you have the media like this, nobody asks about those big sharks. Nobody. They shun away. When you talk of Murdoch, nobody asks. When you talk of Ralph Steinfeld, I'm mentioning them name because they have appeared in court. And the Ralph 1921 has been there, no bail, not Ralph Murdoch. Ralph is there together with the wife and his lieutenant. They did not get bail until February and all those. So if you deal with those kind of people, as the communities are making charge to us that don't deal with small fish, those are not small fish, looking at the things they do. We have dealt with them, some of them. The guy they call Bara, that guy was arrested for 19 dead bodies and running amok on the extortion and all that. Another one is Styles. But also, police are doing very well, as Minister has said, on getting tougher on these guys, on getting toe-to-toe with these guys. On these guys, when they think they'll take on police and police take them on, usually, we might be having casualties, but usually, police, they win the toe-to-toe war. Your Limpopo has shown very clear, your KZN is showing very clear, so that we shall not be pushed back by criminals, and on behalf of communities will be tough. If it needs that, we walk over those people in terms of them taking on police, we will make sure that will be tougher. If they attack us hard, will be harder. On the community, again, we are working with communities. For the first time, we have budgeted 70 million for CPFs in the country. And they have given to provinces. Gauteng has received 20 million of that money. Last week, or 2 weeks, when Gauteng was launching their safety season, they've given 17 cars to the community structures CPF. 17, not just cars, Kumbis, the 12-seaters, so that communities, they are able to work with communities. We are really bringing on board communities, whether are the CPFs in urban areas and rural areas, but we are also working with the farming communities. At one incident, I think it was Honspruit, again in Limpopo, where four criminals were shot and killed after cash heist. That operation was between the police and the farming community. though some people from the social media especially try to water down the contribution of the police, we're very pleased that farmers issued the statement saying, don't come with that idea, we're working well here. Communities and the law enforcement structures were working well, and this is what we all together do. And indeed, we will not win crime, or we will not win against crime, if we are not working with communities. So that one is very clear. And 2 days ago, one was in KZN around Guamash and Durban North. We were meeting the CPFs who say they're working very well with the police. So communities, they have the right to complain, but also communities, they know that they have a responsibility of working together with the law enforcement agencies for the crime to be defeated. Thanks.
Thank you. In addition to the question related to organized crime, when you look at the seizures of assets that has been mentioned in the various depots and areas, it includes and involves the arrest of those that are some of the ringleaders, the organizers, and so forth, which is now the strategy that the law enforcement are using, both the police and the NPA, to target also the ringleaders and the kingpins in the space, also the people that are running the markets, so that we cut the supply and also the market where these goods are being taken to, including the supply and some of the issues related to drugs and so forth. So from what you have heard from the response of the Minister of Police, even with regards to those that have been denied bail, is those that have been in the center of the operations in drug smuggling and so forth and other gang-related activities and organized crime. So that is beginning to show the strategy that the law enforcement are now using, including related to illegal mining, the assets that have been seized. It's also a reflection of the work that is now being done, that they are not just arresting those that they find in the mines. They are also dealing with the middlemen and also those that are the ringleaders in organizing these type of activities, because it does not help to just arrest those you find in the mine. The organizers will go back, organize new ones to go back to the mine. So that's why the strategy has also been expanded in that regard. So we are working to break the bone of organized crime. That is the strategy, to go into the backbone so that we are able to erode its capability beyond the people you see on the streets that are the ones who are causing mayhem. And with regards to the capabilities and so forth, it's true that through what we call the criminal assets recovery funds, we have been able to allocate an amount of 2.1 billion rands for these operations to help the police, the defense force, including Home Affairs, in terms of the capabilities that they need to transport those that are arrested to be deported back into their countries, and also to help the entire criminal justice system to be able to absorb and deal with these criminals as and when they are arrested in our system. So it's a comprehensive strategy of the cluster to respond to organized crime and to be able to have efficient and related capabilities that must enable the cluster to respond effectively to this. So indeed, we stand ready in the entire criminal justice value chain to be able to deal with this. And this is now a response to enable our communities to feel safe in our country. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to deal with the first question of whether Home Affairs has capacity to then deal with the deportation of illegal immigrants in the country. And yes, Home Affairs is building up capacity to deal with, to address the deportation of illegal immigrants in the country. As indicated by Minister Lamola, part of the CARA funds have also been allocated to support the ability of Home Affairs to deport people outside of the country. In addition, the Home Affairs has already acquired 10 buses to do the work of the deportations, more especially for those who are in the neighboring country. But the limitation has been the enabling legislation that empowers Home Affairs to do that. You remember the Concord judgment that dealt with part of the deportation non-compliance where magistrates could not make the decisions. And Home Affairs are currently amending Section 34 of the Immigration Act to ensure that arrested persons who have been found to be illegal in the Republic appear before the court within the 48 hours from the time of arrest. And this is to ensure that Section 34 is in line with Sections 12 and Section 2D of the Constitution. And they are also remedying other matters raised by the Concord. I'm informed that those amendments are coming through into our next meeting as the JCPS cluster, so that they can then be processed to the Cabinet Committee for them to go to to Parliament. You'll recall that yesterday, when the Leader of Government Business, the Deputy President, was responding to questions in Parliament, he has indicated that we continue to submit legislations, more especially the critical ones, that will enable us to be effective in executing our work as government in its totality. On the artisanal mining, the DMRE actually has a policy called Artisanal and Small-Scale Mining Policy, which was approved in March 2022. This policy seeks to formalize and enable the artisanal and small-scale mining industry to operate optimally and ensure that the sector is sustainable and contribute to the economy through taxes, job creation, and royalties. And this is a government intervention that has been widely accepted and supported by the mining industry, as it promises to promote operations that are undertaken in an environmentally friendly, responsible, and without undermining the health, safety, and security of other people. And that is the policy that Cabinet has reiterated to the Minister of DMRE, that it needs to be acted upon with agency, and that is the policy that guides then the applications for when people want to do artisanal and small-scale mining. So we're not starting from scratch. The policy it's already in place, and this is in line with the what is the name of the act? Let me do the recall. Let me consult my notes. It's tough to speak for others. This artisanal small-scale mining policy complements the work of the Mineral and Petroleum Resources Development Act to enable us to then support and promote artisanal mining. I'm told I've covered the other components.
Thank you.
That's fine. Thank you. I think one question related to the laws and so forth. We are also in the process to look, as we said, any loophole in the laws, and we will be submitting the General Law Amendment Bill, which will encompass anything that might be a loophole in the laws to respond to all the issues, whether it's MPRDA, whether it's a criminal procedure, any law that might be used as a loophole in the space. We will attend to it through this omnibus legislation. And in addition, with regards to deportation of foreign nationals, also with correctional services, all the inmates that have concluded their sentences, Home Affairs is immediately deporting them. That is also the process that gives the relay effect to the work of the cluster. We are also in engagement with our counterparts in the region with regards to bilateral in terms of agreeing to take some of the inmates to serve sentences in their respective countries. As and when it's agreed upon, that is what we will put into place. Thank you.
Apologies. There was a question addressed by Minister Mutise in terms of us announcing the countries where the foreign nationals are giving us hassle with crimes. It is important that we announce those countries because we continuously engage with those countries. There's nothing that that webs up emotion, but we need to know, and those people must take responsibility. We have been approached on the other side by a country that says, we've seen in your records of criminals that our nationals are a problem. Let's talk about the mechanisms to bring them back so that we can deal with them. Because in this country, we want a good relationship with South Africa. So unless we mention it in the public space, those countries will not know and they will think we're not. So it also allows those countries to take actions against their own nationals. And that is part of our responsibility to make sure that also the neighboring countries and other countries, because it's not limited to neighboring countries. For instance, the Pakistanis are here and they're a problem in terms of the criminal syndicate. And those, they cannot be a nuisance in our country. They must, their countries of origin must take responsibility. And when they are illegal, we'll deal with them through deportation. But we also want to deal with them also before they become a problem in terms of the protocols between our government and the other government. Remember, part of our bilateral relations with those countries is to make sure that we live in harmonious relations, and it means our people-to-people relation must be harmonious. It cannot be harmonious if South Africans are a nuisance to Tanzania, for example. That's why we go and fetch our own nuisance in those countries to bring them back and they face the law in this country. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to an end of our interaction. I would like to thank Minister Mdise, Minister Pele, Minister Lamula, Minister Nchaveni, and Deputy Minister Mangu, and the senior officials that are accompanying the ministers, and indeed our association with your media. Would like to thank you very much for accepting our invitation to this briefing. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful weekend.